Game of Thrones is my favorite show ever made and one of my favorite things ever made. I've been watching since the first season came out, seen it all multiple times, and even if some parts of it after it stopped following the books were a bit questionable, like killing one of my favorite characters, Littlefinger, as if he was an idiot, nothing really upset me, not until the Battle of Winterfell and the episode after it. Greetings friends, it's Remus here, and this is a bit of an unusual video. I've made some videos with Game of Thrones in the past, but this one I want to express my frustrations with the short, I mean a long night episode and episode 4. So if you aren't caught up yet, spoiler warning. First, I like to say that episode 3 was an awesome episode visually, well directed and acted, even if a bit dark if you watch it during daytime, and it had a good soundtrack as well. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time, it was super suspenseful, and I actually thought it was amazing after I finished it, and I was quite happy. Then I started thinking about it, and the more I think about it, the more mad I get. I wrote most of this after the long night, but I wanted to see if it will be redeemed in episode 4, and I think that one has even bigger flaws, and also didn't explain anything at all from the previous one. Episodes 1 and 2 were good, but they were build-up episodes to what ultimately was a very disappointing episode that was hyped for so long. It felt like a farewell to those people all still being together, yet almost all of them survived. Most of this will be about episode 3, but those points I'll be making are valid for the whole season so far. There are some things that could redeem this for me, hopefully they happen, and if they do, I'll take this all back, at least my third point. My main problem is not with Arya being the one doing the kill, mostly I have a problem the kill even happened, and with the Night King himself. So let me explain all this by following 3 basic points that this episode fails at. 1. Horrible strategy, 2. Actions don't have consequences, and 3. Breaking the team. I could get over 1 and 2 if 3 wasn't such a huge betrayal to the series in my opinion. So let's cover all those points, starting with the first, horrible strategy. In episode 2 they all gathered into this room to think about this goddamn strategy, all those blind minds of Westeros together forming a plan to defeat the biggest threat the world has ever seen. And boy, it was stupid. I'm not going to go after the whole thing, but just a few major points. They place the trebuchets in the front line so they won't be useful after the enemy wave hits. They barely even use them 2 times each. The Dothraki cavalry gets hyped from a fire buff from Melisandre and just go commit suicide for no reason, and they should have placed the damn military behind the trenches and make them bigger and already maybe have some fire all around since the zombies aren't big fans of that. Plus they barely used the dragons, just kept them up there to wait for the Night King, and once they decided to go in, they did a few waves, probably killing hundreds of zombies just with those lines, and then they just went on cooldown. You don't need to be a strategist to think about all of this, just some common sense. But many of them were strategists. Also, they hid the known soldiers in the bloody crypt against an enemy that can resurrect the dead. I guess they didn't think about the dead people being in a crypt, huh? So they basically let all the Dothraki and almost all the Unsullied die for nothing. Great plan, guys. And in episode 4, Dany and company decide to blindly go back home when Euron pops out of nowhere with an aimbot. They didn't see a full fleet coming onto them while Dany was in the air with dragons, and she also didn't see them somehow. And when he fires, he hits 3 out of 3 shots on Rhaegal, but misses all of them on Drogon. And after Dany dodges, she fucks off instead of burning them down while they reload or go around the mounting and flank them. What was Varys doing? Isn't he the spider spy master? How didn't he have some spies scout ahead or know about the attack before? Or Bran use his damn powers for once and spy with a crow and warn them and spy on Cersei too. And speaking of Cersei, she was also dumb near the end of episode 4. She had the big army of 20 good men and all the leaders and Drogon in range of her scorpions and archers, but she spared them because why? She was never one to care about honor or rules, only about winning. She blew up a church with all her enemies and innocent people once. She could have just ended the war there. Oh, and why doesn't Dany and company just surround King's Landing and siege them, starving the people so they would have to come out, give them food to show them she's not that bad, and then just take out Cersei and the army that's still inside to avoid the civilians? There's more to this, but I think you get the point. Which leads me to my second problem. Actions don't have consequences. This was a major characteristic of Game of Thrones. Actions have consequences. You can't do the most stupid shit and get away with it. Ned was a fool, he died. Robb didn't respect his promises, he died. Along his mother and wife and unborn child. Oberyn was too cocky, he died. Cersei got rid of her enemies, her last son committed suicide. You get my point. But here, fighting the goddamn army of the dead with all the main characters sitting in the front line, and constantly being surrounded by whites again and again and again, and always cutting away just before they seem to die, just to be fine, and with a lot less zombies around them in the next shot. This happens with pretty much all the main characters, and while the living are overrun and almost every non-main character seems to die, They all are fine. They almost die many times, but they somehow keep getting away. Heck, Sam should have died 7 times in this episode. And I don't say this as there should have been more deaths, but that it didn't make sense for them all to get away after they are shown over and over again with so many enemies surrounding them. They are not superheroes that can only be killed by main-named villains. They're all still only human, and it didn't feel like it here. The only legit deaths were Theon. He finally finished his redemption arc after somehow killing alone 500 whites charging for Bran. He died at the hand of the Night King, impaled by the wood part of his spear somehow. This episode transferred its armor into plot armor. Also, Melisandre turns to dust, no longer powered by the Lord of Light because she served her purpose. Then Beric died after getting stabbed 20 times and still managed to run into the door. Jorah died because Daenerys had a brain fart and just stood there letting 1000 zombies crawl up Drogon for no reason, and he teleported behind her to save her in the last second. And Ed died because of Sam. Too much plot armor and no consequences for all the stupid stuff they've made compared to what we were used to. There were other characters like Brienne that had a complete arc but still got away. It felt like the last act of the episode was the ending minute of the Battle of the Black Gate from Lord of the Rings, but it just kept on going and going. Many characters seem out of character, same for Cersei and Varys and many others in episode 4. Like Jon not petting the damn dog. The Night King didn't really have any major impact on Westeros after preparing for 9,000 years and just getting defeated in his first fight, which brings me to my last and most important point: breaking the team. I've seen people say this show was always about politics and kings and who should sit in the throne, but tell me, what's the first scene of the first episode of the first season? Was it about politics or kings or the throne? No, it was a scene where the White Walkers slaughtered a group of scouts, one got away, told Ned about it, he didn't believe him, so he cut his head off. For so many years this war was hyped, ever since the first episode Winter is coming and coming, and when he finally arrived it ended in an hour without any real consequences. The show is named Game of Thrones, but that's the name of the first book from A Song of Ice and Fire, and they just melted the ice with a match. Or they mean to say that Jon is ice and then is fire. The whole point of the story was that it didn't matter who was sitting on a damn chair if they weren't able to work together to defeat the real threat for all living. And they didn't, and they still won. I feared this would happen, that they will do the first 3 episodes with the Night King and the last 3 with Cersei. But honestly, they just defeated Satan in an hour, and now they're going after an alcoholic pregnant mom and a pirate to decide who becomes the mayor. Nice. And about Satan, Martin said he didn't like black and white characters and villains that are evil just for the sake of being evil. I guess D&D do. It's not that he died like a fool in the first real fight, but that he died and we didn't learn anything new about him. All we know is he wants to kill all humans for vengeance because that's what the Forest Kids made him for. Great. We even saw him smirk after Dany tried to burn him, and he went alone after Bran to do it himself, so there is some personality still in there. Shame we didn't get to see more about it. Compare him to Thanos, one of the greatest villains ever made. In Infinity War we get to see the story from his point of view, why he's doing what he's doing, and that he's the hero of his story. You even get to sympathize with him. No one sees themselves as evil. Think how hard they fought him and how many times and how many they were. How the Night King fell was as if Thanos was killed by Loki in the first scene of Infinity War with a dagger, without him saying anything, and then Ebony Maw became the endgame villain. Or Valera stabbing the Lich King in the back and one-shotting him. Or Hagrid shooting Voldemort in the head in the 6th film, and then they decide who becomes the next Hogwarts principal after Dumbledore. Cersei is a great character, but it does feel off that she gets to be the big bad of the show in the end, and Dany wouldn't make sense to just turn evil and be the actual final villain. The Night King had no real impact on the world. There are other human characters that killed more main characters or destroyed a lot more than he did, like Walder Frey. We didn't get to see his motives, his reasoning, we didn't even get him to use his sword. No one down from Winterfell would know what happened, the South will think that it was just a northern story, so what the hell was his purpose? To get Dany and Jon together and kill most of their army so Cersei has a chance to kill them all? Thematically speaking, it would have made more sense if they lost, at least this fight, then retreat south and get everyone to fight against him, or fail to do so and let the Night King wipe out everyone, since even now they didn't manage to rally all the living against the dead. And that was been knocking on their door since the start of the show, and even after they brought the White to King's Landing, Cersei and the South didn't care to help, and she got no punishment for it yet. since Daenerys is left with 10 soldiers and the North with 20 good men. It felt too much like a cliché for him to lose now in that last second like that, and spectacle over substance with his end. They didn't show more about him because they want to keep his real story for the Long Night prequel instead of showing the intentions of the biggest villain of the show in the actual main show. It's fine if he lost, but make him more believable and more in line with the story so far. Arya was a trained assassin and very sneaky and good at killing, yes, but her arc had absolutely nothing to do with the Night King and the White Walkers, for the love of Batman. She just found out about them one day before the fight. Jon was face to face with him many times, and all his arc was based around the White Walkers. He was revived just to bring Dany to the fight and for her to also do nothing. At least if it were a team effort. What about this? The White Walkers fight the main character, so they bloody do something. The Night King goes alone after Bran, kills Theon, Jon arrives from behind instead of screaming at the dragon. That was likely telling Arya to go, but still. And the two of them have a nice duel. The Night King at least gets to use that damn sword. But he defeats Jon, and before finishing him off, here is when Daenerys comes in with Drogon and breathes fire on them, but none of them get hurt by it, and Zombie Dragon jumps over Drogon and they take the fight elsewhere. Night King turns again to finish off Jon, and only then Arya appears and stabs him from behind. That would have at least been a lot more satisfying. Also, it would have been cool to see what the hell Bran was doing apart from watching Avengers Endgame to spoil the Night King. I expected some time travel to show us that he set all this up at least. But even so, D&D said they knew for 3 years that Arya will do it because Jon didn't feel right. Sure, not like his arc was all about this, and they just wanted to subvert expectations for the sake of subverting expectations, since she was a surprise. Heck, if Podrick stuck his big dick into Night King's ass and he died because it was made out of Valyrian, it would have been a surprise that doesn't make it a good story. A good surprise from Game of Thrones should make you say what, but oh, that makes sense after thinking about it. Not just what the fuck and then but why after thinking about it. We used to get mad at characters for doing stupid stuff. Now we get mad at the writers for putting them into ridiculous situations and making them stupid. This really is ruining the legacy. Many old scenes don't make sense now or add up to nothing. Even Maisie said she thought this wouldn't make sense, and Kit was also pissed it wasn't him to do it. Also, all the theories are down the drain. Azor Ahai, Bran's connection to the Night King, all of his symbols from across so many episodes. Why didn't he burn? Was he a Targaryen? Why did he want to kill Bran so bad that he had to do it himself instead of sending 100 zombies after him? And lots of unanswered questions die in a quick stab. Everything in the show used to have long and solid foreshadowing. Nothing happened for no reason. And now it looks like Jon's and Bran's and the Night King's arcs didn't really matter. And they forced some foreshadowing on Arya since season 7 after they decided it was her that would end him. That blue eyes quote wasn't even in that order the first time, and it was reference to people, not to the Night King. Arya had a damn list and Cersei was on it. She should deal with Cersei and let others like Jon that had a connection to the Night King deal with the Night King. He wasn't on her list. All the foreshadowing they did was that she was sneaky and that Bran gave her the dagger in that exact same spot where she killed him, and she used the same move against Brienne again after they decided it was her that will do it. And all are recent ones. The only one that you might say makes sense is that the dagger was destined to kill Bran in the first episode, and that the Night King got stabbed in the same place by Arya as he was by the Children of the Forest when he was transformed. And same for the forced foreshadowing on Dany becoming evil, since it seems they are going Mad Queen Dany burn them all and Jon will have to stop her probably. They forced some quick moments like Tormund saying that line.
He climbed on the fucking dragon and fought. What kind of person climbs on a fucking dragon? A madman or a king?
Suggesting she's the mad one and Jon will be king. She's just rushed as the Mad Queen after all the good she did, everyone preparing to betray and possibly kill her. Varys just jumping ship for the 100th time to set up Jon for the throne, thinking Dany is going mad. Why exactly? Because she was not happy with everyone praising Jon for what she did for years while she was drinking from Starbucks. He wants Jon on the throne so he can manipulate him easier, and not for the good of the realm as he intends. I hope she burns him like she promised if he ever betrays her. Sansa is also a big bitch to Daenerys for no reason, telling the secret that Ned kept for 20 years after 10 minutes to Tyrion to stir things up even more. I mean, at this point, who wouldn't get mad? She lost so much, most of her army, her best friends, 2 dragons, found out she's not the rightful heir, sacrificed everything to save Westeros in the fight for the North, and they don't care about her. Hell, I would be mad too. I hope she just burns everyone and wins at this point, since it's too rushed to make anyone believe she's suddenly the actual final villain that just turned mad, as we saw in that last scene from Desert King's Landing. It all seems too rushed and too much of a fairy tale compared to where it all started. The only way to fix this is if this was just one possible future Doctor Stranger saw in his head, where everything was dumb and we get the real fight in the future, or if the Night King somehow returns, or if he is the Night King or becomes the next one after all, since, like the father of Arthas said, there must always be a Night King. If they surprise us with something like that, it would be great and I'll take this back, but at this point it looks like they will beat Cersei and then they will have to beat Dany as well, since they just turned her into a villain that no one buys is a villain. Martin said the ending will be bittersweet and similar to Lord of the Rings. Well, if the Night King was Sauron and Cersei is Saruman, Sauron died too damn fast and easily. And again, nothing in episode 4 from Bran, no explanation, no more Night King lore, nothing. He just talks about chairs. Plus no on-screen reaction from Arya and Sansa when learning about Jon, or from Euron finding out Tyrion knew about Cersei's pregnancy, which should have been a red flag for him that the kid is not his. I guess he's also stupid, not only stupidly written. I don't know if that's what Martin intended for the ending, but he said that they should follow it in the show pretty closely. D&D seem not to know what to do with the characters based on what they say in the Inside the Episode videos as well. Feels like they kind of forgot what this show is about. That's pretty much what I wanted to say about this. I really hope they redeem this mess somehow, because I really expected The Long Night to become one of my favorite episodes after Battle of the Bastards, Hearthome and Winds of Winter, but it just left me disappointed. And episode 4 left me sad. One bad won't wash away all the good, of course, but The Long Night was probably the most important one, and it's a damn shame it didn't live up to expectations and standards made by Game of Thrones. Thank you for watching, let me know your thoughts on those 2 episodes and what should happen next. Maybe the Night King will be back on Zombie Regal and that's why Euron is so scared in the trailer, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.